Welcome to yet another episode of Brand Talkies, a Kata BT show where we believe in uncovering the stories behind the brands you absolutely love. I'm your host Tamana Chanana and I'm back with yet another episode for you. And this is a continued conversation with Santosh Choudhary, who's a ex B2B marketing lead at Meta. We were having a conversation around some top secrets around SaaS marketing and what B2B marketers can actually adapt from his experience. So it's a really insightful conversation. If you haven't tuned into part one, I'll share the entire conversation in description section as well, so that you can go ahead and listen to part one and then please continue this particular part as well. I hope this conversation is really fruitful for you as much as it was for me. So let's get started. All right, let's talk a bit about some future of marketing. What are top three trends you see shaping the future of SaaS marketing, and how can businesses adapt to it? Since AI and a lot is happening right now.
Yeah, I think like there are a couple of key things that are impacting marketing and the whole world. And of course, like you mentioned AI, like you can't have a conversation about the future without talking about AI. Yeah, it's just a thing. To be very honest with you, like I've had a few conversations about with marketeers, with people building marketing tools around AI as well. And what I've learned so far is that there are more solutions chasing problems than the other way around. Even within the context of marketing, like people are building for marketing using AI, but it's AI first and not marketing first always. So I think we'll go through that journey even within marketing where some might be relevant, others not so much. I have a mental model of how I've been thinking about any sort of technology, including AI or whatever it is, affecting marketing. The first is, does the technology have an impact on the way people spend their time? So VR, for example, is something like that. And it's not the case right now, but potentially in the future, if more people spend their time consuming content in VR using an Apple Vision Pro, for example, that will then change how people target, right? Like you'll have to then create 3D immersive VR ads maybe in the future. People spending their times is a great way of looking at it. And another example of how things are changing and will change, and this is more of an immediate example that I'm seeing, is people are using AI more and more to answer questions. And I don't have the numbers, but I'm very curious about the volume of Google searches every day and how that's trending over time. But I won't be surprised if it's reducing and if AI searches are increasing. So in the context of that, like how will it affect SEO? Like, will SEO be as important 5 years later than it is now? Probably not, because even Google pivot how they show their results. And how will then search engine optimization transform? Like, what will the avatar of that be in the future? Like, so yeah. So I think that's going to be like a big change. And then the other thing that I'm seeing is like what are the ways in which technology makes marketing more efficient. And of course, like AI is a big aspect of that. And I think there are some immediate ways in which we are definitely seeing that happen. And I would say creative workflows is a good example of that, especially if you're doing functional creatives. You will definitely be more efficient now. It's easier to create functional ads than it was before you had AI tools. So I think that's going to continue. Like efficiency gains within marketing will continue. And I would say that for now, it will be productivity gains. Like you'll still have people driving things, and they'll just be faster at doing those with all the AI tools. Maybe, 5 years later, or maybe even sooner than that, you will have AI agents that will replace a lot of the work we're doing. So, imagine a situation where you put in in your system, say that, okay, I want to launch a Facebook campaign. This is the total budget. Go ahead and do it. And the system will then, without any human intervention, just go ahead and do that. And yeah, that'll definitely happen. And I think that will certainly reduce the size of marketing teams. What I'm actually, and I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but I think all of this will also force marketing teams to become more creative. It'll also push, especially SaaS marketing teams, to think more about storytelling, because all the foundational things, like the functional ads are anyway being created. So you can't be differentiated by creating a functional ad for your brand. The only way to differentiate yourself would be to create a compelling story that still connects with humans, because the humans are still there. Yeah. And I think that will probably be something you'll see more and more of in the future.
Amazing. I think this is really important for all the marketers thinking about future. They really need to bug up and be more creative. Gone are those days when you can just copy paste whatever is trending and we are done and dusted. It's important to really have that kind of creative hat on and start doing it again.
Yeah, and that's the hard part as well. Like to come up with creative marketing ideas, not everybody can do it. So yeah, marketing is going to get harder, I guess, in a way.
So MBA is not enough, to be honest.
MBA is not enough. But there'll be more focus on customer insights. Like I think that will continue to be true. So the marketeers who are good at figuring out customer insights and maybe leveraging AI to figure out customer insights will be the successful marketeer.
When I was doing an internship with PepsiCo, one thing that one of the leaders taught me, a marketer is as good as a salesperson if they
Yeah.
know that what is happening in the market.
Yeah, that's true.
So touch angle, be in touch with them. The
Yeah.
day you realize that that particular thing is not working, or that is the thing that you really not want to transform in the market.
Yeah.
That's when you'll understand your customers, and that's when you'll change or creatively place your marketing campaigns.
Yeah. And actually have an example for you in that respect. Like, so when I was working with this startup called Flock in India, so we had a certain assumption of who our customer was. We thought that, it's a sort of an engineer or a person in a tech first company, and we always did our marketing with that assumption in mind. So we would talk about all the tech features of the product. You can integrate this with other tools that you use, whether it's for getting like integrating with Jira, for example. Like an engineer would find that beneficial. So we did all of that, we built all of that, and one day we were like, okay, let's pause and let's like pull a lot of customer data and do a persona exercise. So we looked at the customer data, we built cohorts of the customers that we had. And that's when we realized that the customers who are actually using our product are so different from the people we thought we were targeting. Like these were not engineers, these were not tech first people. These were basically small and medium businesses, who maybe have a mom and pop store, maybe it's a small law firm who might have a couple of offices who need a solution. And that was such an eye opener for us. And like, if we hadn't done that, we would have just continued doing marketing, which was less efficient because our value proposition and what we said in our marketing didn't align. So after that, like eye opening customer exercise, we were like, okay, this is not going to work. And immediately we changed our positioning from, being tech first to being easy to use. And that was a game changer because then we were a lot easier to sell to these people as well. So yeah, just an example.
Yeah, but it's a great one, to be honest. It's important to go to the ground reality, check it again. Are we on the right path? Are people actually aligning with what our thought process is? And once you do that, you become a better marketer, and plus you are able to contribute to the business as well. Like you said.
Yeah. Sometimes your customers do a better job of selling your product than you can do yourself.
Exactly. That's why the partner marketing functions were created, because they are the ones who have actually used it and they know the in and out of it very well. Much better than you do.
Yeah.
But yeah, great example. All right, next question for you. In your experience, what are the key differences between successful and unsuccessful B2B marketing strategies, especially in SaaS? And what lessons can you learn from them? Or any best examples that you can share from your past?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go back to something that we talked about, lead gen. So yeah, like simple lead gen, and it's so easy to fall into that trap. Like I have been in situations where I have fallen into the trap as well, where I just focused on lead generation, and then of course like a few weeks or a few months later we're generating all these leads, but why aren't enough of them converting? So I just want to start off by saying that like even smart marketeers a lot of times can just focus on lead generation as a way to drive growth. So I think it's really important to be very holistic in your funnel strategy when it comes to B2B marketing. So you have to really start at the top. You have to start with brand awareness, and it's a tough sell as well usually, because brand awareness, firstly, the metrics are a little bit less tangible. Like you might say that you drove a lift in brand awareness.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, does it get more sales or not? That's what CEOs usually care about. But there's a whole education process that you have to go through within the organization to sort of persist and push the idea of full funnel marketing and ensuring that you do awareness. And I have like a very good personal example as well in that regard. So when I started doing sort of growth work, we initially just focused on lead generation, and we worked with a lot of channels that we believed would work based on our past experience, and it worked quite well. Like in terms of generating leads, we had a certain target in terms of the lead volumes and all of that, and we hit the target. And subsequently after that, when we had conversations with sales, they were like, these people are relevant in terms of the target audience. They're like, it's a decision maker, like a director or a VP, etc., whoever it is, who within the right customer as well. We were, targeting manufacturing and a few other industries. So we found the right people. The problem was that those people were not interested in buying. They were interested in talking to sales because they were like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Like, I want to know more about how this might be beneficial for my business. So they were happy to talk to sales, and the salespeople were initially quite happy. They're like, yeah, these people are like speaking with us. But when it comes to actually closing those deals, that's where it kind of became difficult, because they were like, yeah, I mean, I'm interested in this right now, but I'm not sure if I want to invest my budget in this. And most of the people that they talked to was like that. So what we did then as a follow-up to that was we launched a campaign that was more full funnel, and there was a big brand awareness aspect to it, where we created a really nice brand film that would just get people excited about specific business use cases. So we created a really nice brand film that gave such different examples. It was really fast moving. There was movements that could keep people engaged through the full video, and that worked so well for us, because we then, as soon as we did that, I started to see an increase in, most importantly, an increase in inbound queries. So after we launched the brand campaign, we started to see an increase in general search volumes as well for the brand. We started to see more queries come in, and most importantly, the sales feedback was very different this time around. Okay. The sales feedback was, this is the best quality leads we've seen since we started the program. And yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have happened without brand. And I think, yeah, it's, for me, that was a very big learning, because we kind of overlooked it, and then we decided to change strategies and started to see results of it. Yeah, lesson learned in terms of what works well and what doesn't work well. And the other thing that I've also seen in my experience is, a lot of times people start doing B2B marketing without having the foundations in place. So when I say foundations, what I mean to say is, you don't want to be generating too many leads, for example, without having a very good lead scoring program. Again, I'm saying this from experience as well, because then you have inefficiencies. You're kind of spending budget where sales team people might not be able to follow up. It's an inefficient use of sales time. So having that operational layer set up is super important, and it's so easy to overlook that. Like, if you are a marketing leader building a marketing team, okay, like, I want a product marketer, I want somebody to build content and creative, I want somebody to maybe do performance marketing or demand generation, blah blah blah. Having an analytics or a marketing operations person is usually an afterthought. And it kind of frustrates me whenever I see that, and I personally had that experience. I'm like, no, we need marketing operations. Can we please get somebody to help fix this? So yeah, I think that makes a big difference in success or not, because the operations person will certainly find that we generated 100 leads and 10 of them have gone into this black hole because nobody figured out what routing should happen for those leads, and then that's basically the money that you spend on those leads is gone to waste. So yeah, I think these two things like make a big difference in terms of success. And then we talked about a few other things, like the storytelling aspect of it, thinking customer first, starting off with customer insights, always relevant.
I can conclude with the experimentation and data is the key
Yeah.
to growth, right? Okay, since you are a big fan of data, let's ask you a question around that. Can you share some insider tips on leveraging data and analytics to optimize B2B campaigns, especially in the SaaS industry?
Yeah. So I've shared a couple of examples that I think work really well when it comes to data. So one thing that, again, going back to the lead scoring piece. So lead scoring is certainly an area that benefits a lot from data. And it's something that I've done in the past. Once you start getting enough customers for your business, you are at a point where you can actually start using even things like machine learning to figure out early on in the journey what looks like a potential good customer or looks like a good prospect. And that's where your lead scoring model can play a big role, because if you're able to build like a good machine learning based lead scoring model, or even like a data based lead scoring model where it's not real time, it's not learning, but you've done your work of analyzing your customer data. You've then kind of correlated successful customers with what they were doing early on in your funnel, and then start to take those metrics or those triggers to build your lead scoring. So I think that's a good example of using data to actually optimize marketing. The other thing that I've seen that works quite well when it comes to data is, so on the SaaS side, especially if you're doing marketing to mid-market and enterprise, a usual question that you ask yourself is, how many touches does it need for me to convert somebody? Yeah. And that's where data plays a big role. And again, like I've done this in the past where I work with data science to figure out, to look at different journeys that people might have. Somebody might have had a couple of touches, others might have had 10 touches, somebody else might have had 20 touches. So from all that data, you have to synthesize down to a couple of things. Like you have to come up with some sort of a metric around average number of touches, or what is the minimum number of touches that is most likely going to help you convert this person. And within that, you figure out what are those touches, like what are some of those ways in which you can touch people that will most have the most impact. And yeah, I mean, data is so helpful for this. And we've, again, like I've seen that as well. Like some things were intuitive and others were surprising. And like, okay, I didn't expect this touch to have such a big impact. Like for example, we like, and this is a whole separate question to talk about, but how effective is Facebook ads for B2B marketing? If you ask different B2B marketers, they'll give you different answers. Yeah. And I personally initially was, for example, skeptical about it. But when, I worked with data science, and once we looked at the touches data, we saw that Facebook ads was really effective. Like it was not just effective early on to get people aware of it, but it had a role even later on in the process. And I'm like, okay, that's a surprise for us. So we should definitely be spending more on that channel. So it's those kind of insights that have been very helpful. And I think the last bit that I want to say here is that it's a lot of time and effort to build the infrastructure to allow for all of this. And especially if you're operating, at a bigger scale. For example, like I had to spend almost a year to build the data infrastructure that allowed us to go through that journey to build everything needed to answer the questions.
Nice. And in fact, data plays a key role in terms of answering your questions for the future as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then AI is going to be really helpful in that aspect, I think, because you can just have a AI co-pilot sit on top of your database, marketing database, and the work that took us weeks or days to figure out, AI will just be able to answer it right away. Like the top cohorts, how many touches it should be able to do.
Awesome. All right. So, since we spoke a lot around data, some storytelling aspects as well, as privacy regulations continue to evolve, what steps should SaaS marketers take to ensure that the compliance is taken care of while maintaining the effective targeting and personalization? Because we spoke about the storytelling aspects, we spoke about personalization. Now it's about the privacy concerns that are being built by Meta and Googles of the world. Can marketers actually ease that entire thing and make sure that the brand messaging is out there with all the things, keeping all the things in mind?
Yeah. And I wish, there was an easy answer to that. In my experience, it's a tough thing. Like, and I'll tell you more about how, like in my past roles, I've done it. But every time I would launch a new campaign, or every time I would make a big enough change to the way I targeted people, I went through a whole sort of internal privacy review process. And it was super extensive. Like, I would talk to a privacy manager. The privacy manager would then share feedback on, like, would ask me a ton of questions about how I'm targeting people, where is the data coming from, have I vetted the third party that I'm working with, like how do they get their data. So it was so extensive, and with good reason as well. I think, in the world we live in, privacy is becoming more and more important. But it certainly took a lot of time and effort every time I launch something to do it. So, I mean, and there's no way around it. I think in the future it's going to become an even bigger and bigger thing. But there are a few things that I did that worked quite well in this aspect. I think spending some time early on vetting the vendors that you work with goes a long way. And when I say vetting, like I say genuinely spending some time figuring out what their sources of data is, like what their privacy policies are. You need to make sure that they get an opt-in, like a marketing opt-in, before they or their partners can reach out to them. So doing that early on then helps you avoid issues later on. So that's something that I've always done, especially when I work with new vendors. And I think privacy as a function, usually in my experience, what I've seen is that, especially if it's a big enough company, privacy is a function in itself. Yeah. And then marketing is basically one of the customers for the privacy function. The privacy function might work with the product team or sales or whoever else. It's really important for companies to make sure that you are doing privacy in a way that doesn't too negatively affect your ability to move quickly. And I've seen that as, in my experience, being one of the biggest problems. Like privacy functions sometimes tend to, worst case scenario, just stop something in its tracks. Like I've had instances where I wanted to launch a campaign and just couldn't do it because not allowed, which fair. But then in other scenarios, more often than not, it takes a lot longer than you want it to take. So it's like a company level conversation, like how do we set up a privacy process that helps us ensure that we are compliant, but at the same time also, helps people move quickly, because the worst thing that you can get out of the process is that you can't iterate quickly, and then it just slows things down. So having that balance is super important. And yeah, I think compliance as a space is actually quite interesting for startups as well, because like I don't know if you've come across any marketing compliance startups or companies that are specifically solving for marketing. Like it's a dull problem, but it's a problem that has value.
Of them I've met in India. There are a couple of them I've met in UK as well. I'll share some of them with you.
So do they only focus on marketing and compliance as a space, or do they generally do compliance?
Generally compliance plus they can personalize it based on your requirement as well.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So plugging into their solutions then quite early on in your marketing program is like a great solution.
And I was really stunned. Is there something like this already exists? I was not sure.
Yeah.
I'll share them with you. Okay, so we have come to the end of the episode. Last question for you. With the increasing popularity of AI and automations, we have spoken about it, but I really want to know how SaaS companies can leverage these technologies to streamline marketing processes.
Yeah, I think streamlining is definitely going to be something that takes time. Like I don't imagine it's going to happen right away. There are some really interesting examples though of or AI companies creating solutions for SaaS. Like I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's a company called Synthesia. So Synthesia lets you create AI generated videos, but these are videos that can also have a human in it, like a generated human. But yeah, like basically then you can use something like this to set up, create product demos. You can use it to create personalized sales videos. So a sales rep would speak to the customer in the video, etc. So I think that's a very interesting space where you're definitely seeing some efficiency gains or organization gains using AI. Outside of that, I would say for the near future, it will probably be very sort of functional stuff, and it'll be like micro gains. Like I don't know if process gains are going to happen right away, but if for example, if you're creating a job description for a new person you're hiring, you don't need to like sit and create it from scratch. You can just do it using AI. If you're just creating minor changes to copy on the website, you can just do it using AI. So I think those are definitely things that will keep happening over time. I don't know what you think about this, but like I think AI is definitely a little bit oversold, and we have to see more value come in.
For me, I think it should be more of like a best friend for you, to be honest. Take the help, but not always.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's important to go in the path, explore it, understand it, but use your own brain, to be honest. And something that I've seen people are literally not using after ChatGPT has come in the picture. Everything they'll search, right? If they want to write a script for something like this, right? They'll go put it on ChatGPT. And these are the 10 questions, these are the questions I'll go and ask, and this is done and dusted. Like, what exactly are you doing for the person who's coming on the show? You have to be personalized for them, right? You need to backstory, then only you'll write it. But I have seen a lot of people, I've met a lot of people, they're very heavily dependent on AI. But I feel there's a lot that can be improved, like you said.
Yeah, and there is like ChatGPT, like if you're creating content, you won't have the same voice and tone that your brand has. Like that's something that you still have to do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like, and I've actually seen this happen as well, like marketing programs where they're creating like SEO content at scale using ChatGPT, and that's a very interesting sort of a short-term hack that might work for a while for companies before the likes of Google start to catch on to that, and then there might be like a new release where if it's AI generated content, then they're going to downrank it. So yeah, there are.
You know that, right?
I'm
If you are creating the content,
Yeah.
it picks it up, and then as soon as you reach to a certain level, your reach will decrease. That's what is happening on LinkedIn as of now. They are trying to experiment with multiple bits and pieces around multiple accounts as well.
Yeah.
And they are seeing if the content is created by AI or the tone is not human, then it's gone.
It becomes tricky when it's part human, part AI, and part human.
Yeah, exactly. And there are certain bots that a lot of LinkedIn use.
Yeah.
Make sure that they get likes and a lot of those comments and all of that. And suddenly, out of the blue, you realize that the world is really getting shady, dude. There's no that's left.
It'll continue like that. Yeah. It might get shadier.
I hope it gets better, but
Yeah.
there are both sides to it, right? So coin cannot be on the one side. You have
That's true. Yeah, I mean, AI is like a genie that you're letting out of the bottle, and it'll come with its good and bad things, and we'll have to learn to live with the bad things.
yeah, just see the positive end. Amazing, to be honest. We learned a lot. Being a SaaS marketer, it was a learning experience for me as well. And big thanks to you. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, thanks a lot for coming on the show and taking out time. And these were some really, really fantastic B2B marketing tactics. I'm sure a lot of listeners would have learned a lot from this. This is a wrap up for today's episode of Brand Talkies. We hope you enjoyed our insightful discussion and gained valuable insights to fuel your marketing journey. Remember, the marketing is not just about tactics and strategies, it's about connecting with people on a human level and creating meaningful experiences. Stay tuned for more episodes filled with captivating conversation, expert interviews, and actionable tips to help you succeed in the world of marketing. The love that you gave us in season one, I hope the same will continue and grow in season two as well. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review if you enjoyed today's show. Catch you again on any of your favorite audio platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music as well. Plus, we are available on YouTube, so go ahead and hit a subscribe button. See you super soon. So much for joining us.